Welcome to the 2024 hurricane season outlook brought to you by CAYDEN'S Weather Center here. So glad for you to be joining us here for the first video of the CAYDEN'S Weather Center here. Make sure you are staying aware of the hurricane season, as well as we're going to be posting updates very frequently because we are expecting a very hyperactive season possibly. So let's start off right here with the hurricane names here. Alberto will be our first hurricane names. That will be followed by Beryl, Chris, Debbie, Ernesto, Francine, and Gordon. And then we have Helen, Isaac, Joyce, Kirk, Leslie, Milton, and Nadine. And after that, we have Oscar, Patty, Raphael, Sarah, Tony, Valerie, and William. The question is do we go through all of these storms? Because I'm hoping we don't, because if we don't go through all these storms, then we won't have to have as many storms as we did in 2020, which was a very rough year, especially if you lived in Louisiana. So the question is, could we see a little bit of a weaker year than what 2020 brought us? But we are not looking good so far with the predictions and all of that. Colorado State University, CSU, hurricane predictions have come out earlier in about April, I believe. So the average is 14 named storms, but CSU is now predicting 23 named storms. So that is including every storm together. So the tropical storms, the hurricanes, and the major hurricanes. So if it becomes a tropical storm, it is a named storm. That's when it gets that, it adds on to the number here. Hurricanes are predicting up to 11 hurricanes, with the average being 7, and the major hurricanes that they are predicting is 5. So very large amount for major hurricanes. 3 is the average for the major hurricanes. So that is something that you want to be paying attention to. From Colorado State predicting still a above average hurricane season, that could be definitely a big play in the future on who could get impacted. Like, where is it going to go more? We have more storms, so obviously more areas could possibly be impacted throughout the rest of the season, which we're hoping they kind of just stay all out to sea. The National Hurricane Center, their predictions are a little bit more different than the Colorado State predictions. There's the average, once again, 14, 7, and 3, the average season. The first named storms that they have predicted, they have a pretty big margin of their named storms, 17 to 25. Very big margin there, and they have 8 to 13 hurricanes. So as you can see, this is their first prediction as well, so they could come out with another one in the future. But 17 to 25 named storms is a lot compared to what we had last year. This is actually #1 strongest National Hurricane Center prediction right off the bat. Before hurricane season. 4 to 7 major hurricanes, so we could be seeing some major hurricanes that potentially hit the United States. We're trying and hoping they won't, but it could hit the United States if we. But the good thing is we need to be prepared for it. That we got to be prepared for what could possibly come, because this is going to be a very hyperactive hurricane season. Unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of that, like the La Nina's coming back. We have all of this coming back, where it's going to be a very active hurricane season. The 7-day outlook for the Atlantic here, as you can see, the 7 days, nothing out here in the Atlantic Ocean on the left side of the screen for the next 7 days. The satellite on the right side here for the no activity for the next 48 hours, you can see a little bit of thunderstorms blowing up over there just northeast of, or just south actually of the Dominican Republic, and then you have some off to the east of the Bahamas and just south of Bermuda. So we have those areas and disturbances that are just blowing up thunderstorms, not too much of anything really. The 7-day Eastern Pacific outlook, as you can see, there was a 10% area elongated area pressure, low pressure system is just south of Mexico there. This is not expected to form. From the National Hurricane Center, they're saying it's not going to form. They did bump it up to 20% earlier this morning. It was at 20%. Now it's back down to 10%. It does seem like it's kind of just hanging out in its own little circle, so it ain't moving very much. But you can definitely see the thunderstorms are blowing up with that. The Euro models here, the spaghetti models over here, in the next 7 days, as you can see, very clear. So the National Hurricane Center probably will not be marking anything for a pretty good amount of time here, as there's nothing expected here with the spaghetti models for the 7 days. The GFS has put out some stuff in the Caribbean, but the Euro model is not putting out anything really. 240 hours out here in the Euro model for the probabilities of at least a tropical depression here. You can see there's a little bit off the East Coast, not very likely, just in the 5 to 10% region. But down in the Southern Caribbean, we could be seeing some possibility of a tropical depression in the future. It could be trying to sniff something out, but it doesn't seem like it. It's kind of been like this so far all season, so we aren't really predicting anything because of how low the chances are. The sea surface temperatures obviously are very high in the Atlantic here and in the Eastern Pacific. You can see 31 degrees Celsius right there, just south of Mexico. That is very, very warm water. So if anything was to form in the Eastern Pacific, it might not get as strong because the wind shear is also very, very strong there, and it's very strong right now in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. That's why we're not seeing any areas of interest right now. If there was no wind shear, then we could definitely be seeing something forming pretty soon. The sea surface temperature anomalies, though, that we're taking a look at here, very above average everywhere here across the Atlantic. A little blue spots there, here and there in the Atlantic, but really majority of the Atlantic is above averaged. And actually, this is so warm that this is actually what we had on August 10th last year, the same water temperatures we have actually now. So very, very hot, as you can see. The La Nina is very, very strong. It was at an El Nino just a couple months ago. Now it's up to a La Nina, very, very strong La Nina just off the west coast of South Africa there. You can definitely see that big blue kind of wave looking thing. That is very, very strong La Nina, and it's continuing to grow. So that will make the Eastern Pacific have less storms during hurricane season, and the Atlantic have more due to the more favorable environment for the Atlantic. Make sure you're prepared for hurricane season. Have your evacuation plan, know your zone, and be ready. So if you're told to evacuate, make sure you evacuate so you can get out of the storm and protect yourself from whatever could possibly be coming. Make sure you take local updates from your forecast offices in the National Hurricane Center and your local National Weather Service as well. Make sure to follow me on X for any updates, and thank you for watching.